The Crypt interviews in association with Mayo Leisure Point Castle Bar.
You're listening to The Crypt, and I would like to welcome the very talented horror illustrator behind Summerisle art, Tony Mardon, to the show. So thanks so much for joining me today, Tony.
Pleasure. How you doing?
Well, firstly, Tony, can you tell me a bit about yourself and where you're based?
Okay, so I'm in Kent. I live in Whitstable. Just up the road from Peter Cushing's old house, funnily enough.
No way.
Yeah, I'm a big Peter Cushing fan, and it just sort of happened that I ended up in Whitstable. It wasn't planned. So that's kind of where I am. I was a teacher for 20 years, and I kind of had enough of it. So I thought, right, I'm gonna get out and just start doing what I love to do, which is draw, really, and sort of tie that in with my other love of horror films. So I'm just sort of doing the horror cons. Got my page up and running, so it's all going pretty well. Yeah, it's a bit scary not having a regular income, but I needed to do it. I think it was now or never. So,
well, I have to say, I was so impressed with your drawings. You're very talented. Can you tell me a bit about Summerisle art? What made you choose that particular name?
Okay, well, one of my favourite films is The Wicker Man, and Christopher Lee's character in The Wicker Man was Lord Summerisle. So that was kind of where the name came from. It was my wife's idea. So I go on about The Wicker Man quite a lot. And in fact, she surprised me many years ago with a trip around the sort of the locations in Scotland. And we stayed in the hotel that was used as the interior for the Green Man in the film. And it was actually up there that I proposed to her as well, which is
oh, wow.
which is quite strange, I suppose.
Awesome.
But yeah, so Summerisle, I suppose, means a lot to me. It was one of those films I remember watching when I was younger, The Wicker Man, and it just stayed with me for a long time. I must have been a young teenager, I suppose, and had no idea what was going on at all. Britt Eklund sort of bouncing around and all the songs and everything. I remember the atmosphere just being amazing, and then to watch a film. I think when you've grown up on sort of Hammer films where the good overcomes evil 99% of the time, and then the end of The Wicker Man when Edward Woodward sacrificed. I just remember thinking, what's going on? Where's the rest of the film? When's he going to get out? And he never did. So that sort of stayed with me. That's where the name came from. Really, yeah.
Have you any particular time period in horror that you like to draw the most?
Lately, what I've been drawing are the actors and actresses from films that have been at the horror conventions. So I've done some Texas Chainsaw stuff, some Nightmare on Elm Street stuff. Some of the more popular bits, which tend to sell well. Like the Lost Boys, my Lost Boys print and my Creepshow prints selling really well. Creepshow for me was one of my favourites. I love 80s horror.
Same.
I'm looking forward to, for myself, doing some more obscure stuff. Maybe some like Tombs of the Blind Dead, a bit of Italian giallo, some Argento, some Fulci. It's good fun doing like the Jasons and the Freddys and the Chuckies and everything. But and they are popular, which is great, and they are fun to draw. But I think for me, I haven't even done a Wicker Man picture yet, which is a bit crazy, isn't it? So that's on the cards, and then, as I say, some more obscure stuff, just to that I want to do for myself, and that hopefully will appeal to maybe to not as many people, but to more of a niche market.
Yeah, and it's great as well. Like you said, they're drawing the people who are at conventions, because like if you go ahead to a convention and you're there to see, say, Keen Hod or Friday the 13th, it's great then when all the other stalls have all the merch from them films and art like yourself, so you can add to your collection. Yeah,
I think so. I think when I draw as well, because I collect autographs as well. I'm a bit of I'm a real sort of autograph geek, and sometimes when you go to the cons, there's some nice prints or there's some nice photos on the table, but they haven't got the best sort of place for them to sign. They might be a bit too busy, so I like to try and leave a little bit of an area that are ideal for signing on each print, so that the autograph really stands out. So that's something I sort of bear in mind when I'm working.
Is it just conventions around the UK that you go to, or have you gone further afield?
Only in the UK so far. I know there's a big one in Germany that I've kind of got my eye on. It's just a case of being able to drive to it, or obviously with the with my prints and stuff, they're quite heavy, and you've got a couple of hundred prints in your bag, and you know it, you feel it. So it's just a case of where I'd be able to drive to easily. It's expensive as well, doing the cons. The table's expensive, and you've got your petrol, hotels, and all, and everything that involves being away for a few days. It's just. I mean, I'd love to do more. It's just a case of making sure they're kind of worthwhile, worth me doing. Because I say, without a regular income, it's as much as I don't want to be sort of mercenary, it is important I make a bit of cash. Otherwise my family will be out on the streets, and I don't think they'd like that too much. So. Yeah,
you definitely wouldn't be getting any trips to movie sites then.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I said no. Do you know what? Actually, on that same trip, Keely took me to Port Merion as well, because I'm a big Prisoner fan, and to have gone to Port Merion in Wales was absolutely amazing as well. It was a great experience. Yeah. Really enjoyed that.
Now, when you have your stall at your convention, is it just prints you sell, or do you have any other bits and pieces that you'd have?
So I try and divide it up a little bit. So I've got my prints, mounted on the wall. People would come by and look at them and hopefully, buy one. But then I sell a lot of autographed sort of memorabilia as well. So, for example, last night I met Dario Argento up in London at the Barbican. He was introducing Suspiria. And it was amazing. And I got there early just to talk to the people, to see where he was going to be, how I might be able to get some stuff signed. And they all told me he wasn't signing. I was like, oh no. So anyway, just after he introduced the film, I just nipped out. I was the only person to nip out, and I was lucky enough to catch him. So he ended up signing about 15 things for me. So I was absolutely over the moon. He was lovely. Yeah, he was brilliant. So things like the mask, like a replica of the Mask in Demons, he signed. Yeah. And I've got another friend who's gone to the convention in Wales this week, Abattoir, and I gave him one of my other Demons masks for Lamberto Bava to sign. So I'm going to have a little pair of them, which would be quite cool. So obviously a lot of stuff I keep for myself, but then other things make their way onto the stall. I went to the Romero Weekend of the Dead convention a couple of weeks ago in Manchester, and Tom Savini signed some stuff for me, and Russ and Judith, who played Johnny and Barbara in the first Night of the Living Dead, in Night of the Dead, signed stuff. So yeah, I mean, most stuff I keep for myself, but there are little bits that creep onto the stall. So that's quite good fun actually, because they're Tom Savini signed a Creep Show mask for me as well, which was really cool. So it's not, so there's the autograph stuff I like to have up, and also just bits and pieces I pick up, like figures, action figures, horror related stuff that just catches people's eye. I like to have a little different bits and pieces. And what's great about the cons is that there's so many artists, and I love buying other people's work, and I love looking at other people's work. And there's people like Graham Humphreys, who's an amazing artist, done a lot of the sort of VHS covers and posters, like Return of the Living Dead and Evil Dead, and I saw him the other day, and just great to have a wander around. But you can't rely on just your artwork, because there's so much of it. Yeah. So it's nice to have a little mixture of stuff for people to buy and hopefully have a look at. And a lot of the conventions, I think a lot of people sort of tend to save a lot of money for the autographs, and depending on the conventions, they can get quite pricey for people. If there's sort of 4 people from Elm Street there, and they want one of each, and that's the £20-25 a time. Well, that's quite a big part of people's budget. So I like to have a little bit of everything. Some more expensive stuff and a lot cheaper stuff as well, so people can hopefully go away with something for everyone. That's my plan. That's the plan anyway.
And then you recently set up an Etsy store as well. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, I can do. It doesn't seem to be going very well, though.
Everything takes time.
Yeah, I know. So basically, I set up the stall, Summerisle Art Design. It's the page. So I've got on there, I've got some prints on there, I've got some of the autographed bits and pieces on there. And I make things as well. So I made a sort of a Texas Chainsaw Massacre sort of diorama with a resin skull and some animal bones. And just before Toby Hooper died, he signed a couple of those for me.
Oh, wow.
So Yeah, well, I met him at the London Film and Comic Convention. I think it must have been about 3 weeks before he died, unfortunately. So I'm a huge Texas Chainsaw fan. I absolutely love it. I think the original is underrated. I mean, I think it's a stunning film. Not just a horror film, but of any film. I think it's top 5. I think it's criminally underrated. I think probably because of the exploitative title, people don't really give it a chance. So things like that. So, I was lucky enough to meet Toby Hooper, and we chatted and laughed about him signing a skull that sort of had maggots and things creeping around in it. So things like that in the Etsy store as well. But most of the stuff I sell, so it's mainly at the conventions. Some stuff on my Facebook page, Summerisle Art, which please have a look at. So it's but Etsy so far it is letting me down. We'll see what happens.
And then, what would you say is your favourite convention?
My favourite I've been to was the Weekend of the Dead a couple of weeks ago. And I think it's the third time it'd been on. And what struck me about it was very small and very intimate. I think it was only you're only looking at about 100 to 150 people each day, Saturday and Sunday. And it's all in it's in a casino, which is great as well.
Yeah. And plus it gives you more time to speak to the guests when there is.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, they're sort of hanging around, just chatting away with everyone quite happily. The autographs were really, really reasonably priced. I think between sort of 15 and I think the most expensive was Tom Savini at 25, which is a lot cheaper than a lot of the conventions I've been to. And in the evening there was a dinner, so there was a guest at each of the tables. So I was sitting having dinner with Judith O'Dea, from Night of the Living Dead, and she was such a lovely lady. It doesn't really get much better than that for me.
No.
It was surreal, and then we watched. They had the Elvis Dead. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's a singer. He's an Elvis impersonator. But he tells the story of The Evil Dead 2 through the songs of Elvis. It's really very bizarre.
It sounds bizarre.
It has to be seen to be believed. That's it's like you're a Deadite in disguise and things like that instead of the devil in disguise. So it was absolutely hilarious, really fun. And it's a small little convention. I can't wait to go again next year. Fantastic. And it reminded me a lot when in the early 90s I used to go to conventions there's a little cinema called the Everyman in Hampstead Heath. And there were tiny little all-night conventions. And I remember I met people like Lucio Fulci, Joe D'Amato. A lot of these sort of European directors and actors would come over to that. So we'd be watching sort of zombie flesh eaters at 3 a.m, followed by a talk with Lucio Fulci. It was, and they were tiny little conventions. And I think what's nice about those, when compared to the bigger ones now, is if you go to something like the London Film and Comic Convention, it's packed, everyone's rushed.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It can be a real nightmare. You might not even get to see the guest you want to see. It's awful sometimes. This little convention, Weekend of the Dead, was absolutely stunning. Yeah, I'll totally recommend that. Can't wait for next year. And
then, of all the celebrities you've met at the different conventions, who would you say was your favourite and your least favourite?
Okay, celebrity I met, it wasn't at a convention. My favourite was Peter Cushing.
You got to meet Peter Cushing. Wow.
Yeah, I know, it was mad. I can't really. It was 86. I was about 14, and I remember. I was living in Gillingham, which is it's about an hour away. Not even that, probably about 45 minutes away. And I think with my parents, obviously, and I think we came out to the Whitstable or Canterbury for the day, and we saw a poster with advertised a meeting, an interview with Peter Cushing, and I was a huge Peter Cushing and Hammer fan from a really young age. I remember in sort of early 80s when we first got a video recorder. And my mum would video like the double bills. Used to be like Hammer double bills on
Channel 4, wasn't it?
Channel 4, yeah. Exactly. And then Sunday morning we'd come down and and watch them and make sure that hopefully the timer would worked and we hadn't run out of tape and all those old things we used to worry about. Just sit there. I remember watching Vampire Circus and Dracula and stuff with my mum. I remember her saying, "Oh, it's a Hammer film. It'll be good then," and that always stuck with me.
Yeah.
So Peter Cushing, and he was lovely. I mean, he was such a nice man. I have such fond memories of that. My dad had rung the organisers and arranged a little meeting with us first as well before the actual interview. So I got my photo with him and had a little chat with him, and he was fantastic. And again, I suppose Christopher Lee, he was interesting to meet. very different sort of character to
Yeah.
Peter. He was far more sort of aloof, and very more grand, whereas Peter Fisher was a humble kind of man. So, and I suppose my least favourite, that's a tricky one.
Yeah.
Tom Savini wasn't the friendliest guy in the world.
Do you know what? I'm glad you said that, because I met him at London Film and Comic-Con, and I felt like I was really putting him out, going up talking to him.
I think, was that a couple of years ago?
Yeah, that's about two
a lot
years
of people have said that. I don't know what was going on with him then, because I heard a lot of people telling me he was rude, offish, didn't want to be there.
And like you watch him in interviews, and he looks awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
What
I remember I met him the time before. I can't remember when it was. It was a long time ago. I think it was something like Westminster Film Fair. 3 years ago. And I remember being quite affable, quite nice. But I've heard a lot since. He wasn't so great. And the other day, the Weekend of the Dead, he wasn't awful or anything. He was okay. But whereas the other guests were far more talkative, and happy to be there, he still kind of had that edge of do I want to be here type about him.
You're kind of nervous enough going up talking to these people who you admire so much. So if you're not getting that back, it's quite disappointing.
I think that's the thing. I think it's a disappointment. You when you've sort of grown up watching and admiring, like you say, people, when you get to meet them, if they don't sort of live up to your expectations, it can be really disappointing. Or even, just saying hello or, thank you or something. Yeah. Sometimes, like actually William Shatner as well. He was another one.
I heard he's not the greatest.
No, he certainly wasn't very Captain Kirky. I mean, he was he was okay, but I think he was really busy and he just had to get stuff done. But it is a shame when you meet people and they're borderline rude with you. I don't think there's any need for that, especially when you're handing over money, which is a strange thing in itself, I think, really, isn't it? You're handing over your money to meet someone. It's a kind of bizarre situation, I think.
Did I see on your Facebook that you met Adrienne King there when she was at London?
Yeah, she was lovely. She had a piece of she took a piece of my art of my print with her. She was very nice. She's an artist as well. Yeah. She paints and she's fantastic. And she really liked the picture, which was lovely.
And the poor thing was awful sick then that weekend as well.
Yeah, I think she got food poisoning, if I remember rightly, and had to fly back. And there was a little bit of problem with how she was sort of looked after and treated. I don't know the ins and outs, but I think some people weren't very happy with the organisers for not kind of looking after her a little bit better. But I don't know the ins and outs. Just quickly, talking about people who I had a lot of fun with that I met at a convention was. Jameson Newlander, who played Alan Frog in The Lost Boys. He was absolutely fantastic, and he liked my Lost Boys print and took one. We were chatting for ages, and I was telling him I'd come up from Kent. I think it was in Liverpool, and I was on my own, and we ended up chatting. And he said, "Oh, do you want to come out for some beers?" I was like, "Yeah, cool." So I ended up going out with beers with him, 3 of the guys from The People Under the Stairs, and an Elm Street girl, and Jason Voorhees. So
what a night!
That was a great night. That was just crazy, and they were lovely. Really, really nice. That was bizarre. I'm still sort of dining out on that one because it was only a few weeks ago. So
I want to get to a few of the horror cons in the UK because I haven't been to any of them. I've just been to London Film and Comic-Con, so I want to check out all the ones specifically for horror.
A really good one I enjoyed was the Sheffield HorrorCon. That's in May, and that was really good. That was really good this year.
So is that every May?
Really enjoyed that one.
That's my birthday in May, so it'll be my excuse to go travelling.
There you go. There you go.
That'd be my birthday present to myself.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, another question I want to ask Tony is, can people order commissions on drawings other than like horror or movies? Could someone send you a picture of their child, say?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I have done a fair few pets in my time. People's pets are quite a nice little reminder for the family getting the picture, and it's quite a nice thing to draw. Actually, I have done some portraits of people as well. I'm more than happy to do that. I quite enjoy that as well. It's a different sort of challenge. Sort of trying to get people's sort of personality from what you can learn about someone through a text or a photograph. It's quite hard work, but I know I do enjoy that a lot. Actually, I've just done a commission for the actress Deborah Voorhees, who was in Friday the 13th Part 5. She played Tina. and she liked my work and asked if I could do a piece for her. So that was nice.
God, that's a real honour, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I was a bit worried actually because it seemed to be taking forever to get to her in the States. But she's got it now anyway, and she's very happy. So that was nice. It's nice to be asked by anyone to to draw for them, because it means that they appreciate what you're doing. So, and it's also a big confidence booster as well, to have a good commission. Yeah, but yeah, I'm always open to commissions of anything really. Yeah.
And then where can people follow you online?
Okay, so my Facebook page is Summerisle Art, and that's the best place to find me at the moment. As I say, I have got an Etsy shop which is called Summerisle Art Design, and I haven't got a web page yet. That's something I need to sort of pull my finger out and do. But yeah, so the Summerisle Art on Facebook at the moment is the best place, and also I'm halfway through sort of sorting out my Instagram as well. So as soon as I've got that, I'll put a link up on my Facebook page.
And then, of course, I'm going to have some of your work available to view on the Crips website, so I encourage listeners to check it out because they'd be great additions to your horror collections.
Thank you very much.
No bother.
Fantastic.
Well, Tony, before I let you go, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think so. I want to say thank you very much for having me on your show. It's an honour for me. It's a bit of a privilege. I've thoroughly enjoyed talking to you.
You too. It's been a great old chat.
It has. It's been a great old chat indeed. And hopefully I'll get to see you when you come over to the UK, to London or Sheffield or wherever you're going to be. And we'll have a proper chat at some point.
The Crypt Interviews in association with Mayo Leisure Point Castlebar.